Hello friends, and welcome to today's sutta class. We will start with the Namo Tassa as usual. Feel free to join in if you like. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. So, welcome to the Sutta class. As you can see, today we are not having a live stream. This is a recording. So if you have any questions or comments, then feel free to either leave them in the description box, or you can remember them until next time and also ask them next time when hopefully we can again have a live stream. And the reason why there is no live stream today is that on Tuesday, when this video will go live, I will not be in any place that has an internet connection, so I can't do a live stream. And there is a group of nuns that I belong to, and we are building a new forest monastery and retreat center in Germany called Water Moon. And in that place, it's super remote, far away from civilization. There is no internet connection at the moment. There's not even a proper mobile phone signal. So yeah, there's no way to do a live stream. And for that reason, I decided to do this recording. And if there's time at the end of today's session, I will show you a few pictures of the new place. So today we continue our topic about conflict resolution strategies of the Buddha, where we are talking about a conflict or a schism actually in Kosambi. And that conflict or schism started very small with two monks fighting over or disagreeing over how to clean the toilet. And then it escalated until it became a massive, massive conflict and turned into a schism of the sangha. And so in this series of talks, we are exploring how the Buddha reacted to that, what kind of strategies he employed to try and get the sangha to reconcile, the kinds of teachings and the suttas that he gave to those monks. And eventually we will see how that conflict was resolved after many months of fighting. And today we will continue the sutta that we started to read last time, which is the Kosambi Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya number 48. And last time we already read the first half. And in that sutta, what the Buddha did was, first of all, he called everybody together, so people from both sides of the conflict. And the first thing that the Buddha did was to get them all to acknowledge what they're doing. So to acknowledge that they are all enmeshed in all this fighting, that they are not cultivating wholesome mind states, and that they're hurting each other, that they can't agree on anything, and that they're not able to cultivate all the wholesome states that you need to cultivate on the Buddhist path, most especially metta towards each other. And I think that is very significant that the Buddha got them to acknowledge what they're doing, because only if he gets them to actually take a good look at themselves and actually admit that they are not able to practice the path, only then is there any hope for them to actually see that there's a problem and to be willing to try and make a change. So that's the first thing the Buddha did in this sutta. And then when they acknowledged that there was a problem, then he taught them 6 principles of cordiality, or 6 principles how to establish communal harmony. And so he tried to show them what they can do to improve the situation and to reestablish harmony in the community. And from there on, and that is what we are going to read today, he taught them 7 principles of stream entry, or 7 factors of stream entry. So he gave them a kind of objective or a goal to look forward to. And he told them, like, if you stop fighting, and you reestablish communal harmony, then stream entry will be within your reach. So there is some kind of incentive for them to actually turn around and make the effort to reestablish communal harmony, because then the reason why they went forth, the higher stages on the path, will actually be reachable for them. And obviously, if they keep on fighting and keep on cultivating all these negative states in their mind, then they just create more and more negative karma, and stream entry or any higher stage on the path will be unattainable for them for a long time. The more negative karma they create, the more they block themselves off from the reason why they went forth in the first place. So the Buddha taught them 6 principles of cordiality, and that was the practice of metta by body, speech, and mind towards the other companions in the holy life. So that were the first 3 principles. And then he taught them to share everything that they have with each other. And he taught them to maintain their sila, so their ethical precepts, all on the same level, all to a very pure degree, and taking inspiration from each other. And then the last one was all having the same view, or all having especially right view. So really valuing that they have found a community of like-minded people, of people who are willing to make a huge commitment and to sacrifice a lot in order to be able to practice the Buddhist path. And that is very rare in the world and very valuable. And the Buddha said that this last point, the cultivation of right view together with one's companions in the holy life, is the most cohesive and most unifying factor of the 6. So the most important one, and the one that underlies everything else, to establish communal harmony. And at this point is where we stopped last time, and where we will pick up the sutta again today. And I have given you a link in the description box to Bhante Sujato's translation, just as last time, but I will be reading from Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation again, just as last time. And we just stopped in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. This is paragraph number 8, where the Buddha just finished discussing about right view, and right view being the most important of the 6. And the Buddha continues here. And how does this view that is noble and emancipating lead the one who practices in accordance with it to the complete destruction of suffering? So now he's showing them how the practice of these 6 principles, especially right view, can lead one, here he says, to the complete destruction of suffering. That means all the way to arahantship. And in the following rest of the sutta, he will discuss the path to stream entry, which is obviously a preliminary stage to get to arahantship. And the Buddha says, here a bhikkhu gone to the forest or the root of a tree or to an empty hut considers thus: is there any obsession unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know or see things as they actually are? If a bhikkhu is obsessed by sensual lust, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by ill will, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by sloth and torpor, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by restlessness and remorse, then his mind is obsessed. If he is obsessed by doubt, then his mind is obsessed. If a bhikkhu is absorbed in speculation about this world, then his mind is obsessed. If a bhikkhu is absorbed in speculation about the other world, then his mind is obsessed. If a bhikkhu takes to quarreling and brawling and is deep in disputes, stabbing others with verbal daggers, then his mind is obsessed. He understands thus: there is no obsession unabandoned in myself that might so obsess my mind that I cannot know and see things as they actually are. My mind is well disposed for awakening to the truths. This is the first knowledge attained by him that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. So this is the first factor of stream entry. since it is called a knowledge that is noble and supramundane, not shared by ordinary people, that means not shared by people who are below the level of stream entries. It's supramundane, so no longer belongs to the worldly sphere. And noble, of course, refers to the noble people, so from stream entry upwards. And these 7 factors are very, very interesting. Some factors that are coming now, because they're not found in any other sutta, only in this one. So they're quite special. And I think it's very well worth looking at them and discussing them. And the first factor here of stream entry that the Buddha mentions is that you don't have an obsession in your mind that obsesses you so much that you cannot see reality as it actually is. So you don't have to completely have abandoned all your defilements in your mind. You can still have defilements to some degree, but they cannot be so strong that you get obsessed by them, that you lose sight of reality as it actually is. So that wrong view can spread in your mind, and that you can, for example, take things as permanent when they're actually impermanent, or that you can take things as a self when there's actually no self. So as a stream enterer, you very, very clearly understand the law of dependent origination, the law of cause and effect, and the 3 characteristics of every thing that you can experience, namely impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. So you would never fall into wrong view to an extent that you cannot see things as they actually are. So you won't be totally free of any clouds in your mind, but they won't be clouding you so much that you are losing sight of the reality of samsara. So the Buddha says you can't be obsessed by sensual lust, you won't be obsessed by ill will. He goes through all the 5 hindrances, and the 5 hindrances except for doubt. Doubt is also abandoned at stream entry, but the other 4 hindrances are still present in the mind of a stream enterer. It's just that they are a lot less strong than for an ordinary person, and they can no longer overpower your mind. And the Buddha mentions a few other things that can cloud people's minds: being absorbed in speculation about this world, for example, or being absorbed in speculation about the other world. So this is people who are interested in spiritual matters. They will have a lot of speculation. The origin of this world, or how it will be in the other world, refers to the next rebirth. So where will you be reborn, or is there an afterlife, and what does that look like? So I think all throughout human history, people have tried to answer the question, what is the afterlife like? And all cultures have different ideas of what that would be like. So people have been speculating about these things ever since humans actually developed. So these are very popular questions that really obsess human beings. And as long as they are so obsessive in your mind that you cannot see the reality, then of course you're not a stream enterer yet. And of course, the Buddha here also mentions, if a bhikkhu takes to crawling and brawling and is deep in disputes, stabbing others with verbal daggers, his mind is obsessed. So I think that is quite clear. We have seen throughout this entire series where we talk about conflict resolution strategies, how obsessive those bhikkhus were, that they were not able to reestablish mindfulness, and nobody was able to take a step back and look at what they're actually doing and saying, we're fighting over cleaning of a toilet. This is entirely ridiculous. We should stop this. Everybody just got more and more dragged into this fighting, and nobody was willing to actually let go of their point of view and take a step towards the others and try to reconcile. So obviously, that is the reason why the Buddha added this last point here on this list of things that obsess people's mind. And so if somebody actually is able to go to this empty hut or the forest or the root of a tree and look deep inside themselves and see, actually, there is no more obsession that is so strong that I would not be able to see reality as it actually is, then that means that their mind is well prepared for the breakthrough to stream entry. As the Buddha says, this is the first knowledge, attained by them that is noble, supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. So then we come to the second factor, and the Buddha says, again, a noble disciple considers thus, when I pursue, develop, and cultivate this view, do I personally obtain serenity? Do I personally obtain quenching? He understands thus, when I pursue, develop, and cultivate this view, I personally obtain serenity, I personally obtain quenching. This is the second knowledge attained by him that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. So we are still talking about this right view that the Buddha said was the most important of those 6 factors of cordiality, or 6 principles of cordiality. And so that disciple of the Buddha considers, if I develop this kind of view, will that lead me to peace of mind, and will that lead me to nibbana? Because their mind is no more clouded, they deeply understand where this path will lead them, or where this view will lead them. And they understand if they cultivate this, they will personally obtain peace of mind, serenity, and nibbana. So they can see again cause and effect. If they put these causes into place, which effect will that have? And they deeply understand that this will lead them to mental calm and also to nibbana. So this is the second knowledge that somebody has who's preparing for stream entry, or who is already a stream enterer. As the Buddha says, it's noble, it's supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. And then we come to the third knowledge, or the third factor here. And the Buddha says, again, a noble disciple considers thus, is there any other recluse or Brahmin outside the Buddha's dispensation possessed of a view such as I possess? He understands thus, there is no other recluse or Brahmin outside the Buddha's dispensation possessed of a view such as I possess. This is the third knowledge attained by him that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. So we're still talking about that same view, and the Buddha's disciple understands that this is really the teaching that is unique to the Buddha. This form of right view, the law of dependent origination, the law of cause and effect, and the deeply understanding about karma, about rebirth, about the 3 characteristics of our experience, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And that disciple of the Buddha deeply understands that this is something that is unique to the Buddha's teaching. There is no other teacher or practitioner outside of the Buddha's dispensation that has this kind of teaching, or this kind of view of dependent origination, or of cause and effect. So this is why somebody who is a noble disciple can never again acknowledge another teacher outside of the Buddha's teaching, because they see that this is really the unique point, and that is really what describes reality as it actually is. And once they have seen reality as it actually is, and their mind is no longer clouded by wrong view, and especially by Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view, which is one of the fetters that we abandon at stream entry, then obviously, since they have deeply seen the reality, they can no longer follow another teaching. And again, that disciple understands that this is unique to the Buddha's teaching. And this is the third knowledge, which defines stream entry, which is noble, supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people, people who are not yet stream enterers. And then we come to the fourth factor. And the Buddha says, again, a noble disciple considers thus, do I possess the character of a person who possesses right view? What is the character of a person who possesses right view? This is the character of a person who possesses right view. Although they may commit some kind of offense for which a means of rehabilitation has been laid down, still they at once confess, reveal, and disclose it to the teacher or to wise companions in the holy life. And having done that, they enter upon restraint for the future. Just as a young, tender infant lying prone at once draws back when they put their hand or foot on a live coal, so too, that is the character of a person who possesses right view. They understand thus, I possess the character of a person who possesses right view. This is the fourth knowledge attained by them that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. Sorry. So now the Buddha says a person who possesses right view, what kind of character would they have? What kind of traits would they have? How would they behave? And here, of course, he is talking to bhikkhus. He's talking to the quarreling bhikkhus at Kosambi. So he's using an example from the life of a bhikkhu. So the Buddha says a bhikkhu can still commit the more minor offenses, the offenses for which a means of rehabilitation has been laid down. So these are offenses of the Buddhist monastic code, but not the most severe kind of offense. The most severe kind of offense is called a Peragica, and this means immediate expulsion from the order, and you cannot reordain again in this life. So there is no possibility of rehabilitation if you commit a Peragica. And Peragica offenses are things like killing a human being, or having sexual intercourse, or stealing something of a significant amount of a significant value, and some other things, claiming superhuman attainments, some other things. So if you commit one of these, then there is no means of rehabilitation. So the Buddha also says a stream enterer could not possibly commit one of these offenses, but he or she or they could commit an offense that is more minor than that, where there are procedures to clear the offense. So that could happen because the stream enterer is not necessarily always mindful, and sometimes you also find yourself in a situation where it seems more reasonable to break one of these smaller rules. There can be situations where you feel that this is more appropriate, but still, if you do that, you at once confess that and you disclose it to others or to the Buddha. So you disclose it to wise companions. You try to find another bhikkhu or bhikkhuni who is also a good practitioner, and then you disclose your offense, and then you will commit to not doing this again in the future. So you still commit to the training, you still commit to those rules. You wouldn't say, oh, these are all stupid rules, we don't need to keep them, it's totally ridiculous or something. So even if you make a mistake, you will acknowledge the mistake straight away and then try not to do it again in the future. And of course, the Buddha then uses this simile of the baby that accidentally touches a very hot coal. And of course, if they feel the heat from that coal, then at once they would have the reflex to draw their hand or foot back from that. And in the same way, a monastic might still kind of break one of those rules, but immediately draw back and not hide the offense, or not kind of try to make an excuse, but disclose it and try not to do it again in the future. So this again is talking directly to the monks at Kosambi, where the whole thing started, the whole conflict started over who didn't clean the toilet properly. So this was a really teeny tiny kind of offense, but nobody wanted to repent and nobody wanted to clear it, and everybody just stubbornly insisted on their point of view, and nobody was willing actually to confess and to commit themselves to not doing it again in the future. So that would be the character of a person that possesses right view, and this is the fourth knowledge attained by them that is noble, supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. And then we come to the fifth knowledge, and the Buddha says, again, a noble disciple considers thus: do I possess the character of a person who possesses right view? What is the character of a person who possesses right view? This is the character of a person who possesses right view. Although they may be active in various matters for their companions in the holy life, yet they have a keen regard for training in the higher virtue, training in the higher mind, and training in the higher wisdom. Just as a cow with a new calf, while she grazes, watches her calf, so too that is the character of a person who possesses right view. They understand thus, I possess the character of a person who possesses right view. This is the fifth knowledge attained by them that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. So the Buddha continues his theme here about the character of such a person. So how would that person behave? And so the Buddha says that person wouldn't necessarily withdraw into a cave and never come out again and be totally cut off from the sangha and totally cut off from ordinary life. They might still be active in the sangha. They might still do various matters for the other monastics and be involved in the monastery management and be involved in things that happen in daily life. So they're not entirely withdrawn and secluded and aloof from everything. They're still involved in just the things that need to be done. But they would not lose sight of what is actually important in their life. They would not get their priorities muddled and get distracted and forget what they actually want to do and be totally unmindful. But while they're doing all these tasks, they still have their priorities straight, and they still value the training in the higher virtue, training in the higher mind, and training in the higher wisdom. So they haven't forgotten that they still need to train, that they're not arahants yet, that there's still more for them to be done, and that is the most important. And of course, training in the three characteristics of the Buddhist path, sila, samadhi, and panya, or higher virtue, higher mind, and higher wisdom. And the Buddha uses here the simile of the cow with the new calf. So even a cow that has a new calf can't just look after that calf the whole time. She also has to do other things, such as feed herself and so on. But while she does other things, such as grazing, she also watches her calf in the same way that bhikkhu would be watching their mind while they're doing other things. So that would be the character of a person who possesses right view. So they wouldn't be distracted and they wouldn't lose sight of what is actually important. And while they're doing other things, they would still keep an eye on their mind so that they're not producing unwholesome mind states while they're doing other stuff. And they wouldn't let the hindrances come in and overwhelm their mind and whatever, cultivate anger or irritation or lust or something while they're doing things. So this was the fifth knowledge that was noble, supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. And then the Buddha continues. Again, a noble disciple considers thus, do I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view? What is the strength of a person who possesses right view? This is the strength of a person who possesses right view. When the Dhamma and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata is being taught, they heed it, give it attention, engage it with all their mind, hear the Dhamma as with eager ears. They understand, thus, I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view. This is the sixth knowledge attained by them that is noble, supramundane, not shared by ordinary people. So now, slightly rephrased, the Buddha still continues with character traits of such a person, a strong point of such a person. So such a person, when a person who possesses right view, that is a stream enterer or higher, they already are deeply established in the Dhamma. They already have unshakable right view. So sometimes you could maybe think that since they already know all the principles of the Dhamma and have deeply seen into reality and are no longer confused, they no longer need Dhamma teachings. They can just practice on their own. And they're probably no longer interested in getting Dhamma talks and so on. But the Buddha says this is not at all the case. Even though they already know all the principles of Dhamma, and they have deeply seen into reality as it actually is as a stream enterer. To some extent, of course, not like an arahant yet, but they have already strongly established right view. Still, when the Dhamma is being taught, they pay attention. They engage it with all their mind, and they hear it with eager ears. So they're deeply, deeply interested to hear these kind of talks. They value it very much. They pay attention to that. They're not distracted when the Dhamma is being taught. So that is something that is very important to them, and that they, as I mentioned, value very much. So as a stream enterer, if there is somebody out there claiming to be on the higher path, having some kind of attainment, and that's therefore saying, I no longer need to follow the Vinaya or follow Vinaya teachings. Here the Buddha says Dhamma and Vinaya, Dhamma and discipline. I no longer need to follow the Vinaya, or I no longer need to read Dhamma books, or I no longer need to listen to teachers teaching the Dhamma. That's kind of a red flag, and you should be like a little bit careful. Because obviously such a person would understand that this is the most important thing that you can possibly hear. Nothing else that you could possibly ever talk about is as important as talking about the Dhamma. And then the Buddha continues with the seventh and last knowledge. And the Buddha says, again, a noble disciple considers, thus, do I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view? What is the strength of a person who possesses right view? This is the strength of a person who possesses right view. When the Dhamma and discipline proclaimed by the Tathagata is being taught, they gain inspiration in the meaning, gain inspiration in the Dhamma, and gain gladness connected with the Dhamma. They understand, thus, I possess the strength of a person who possesses right view. This is the seventh knowledge attained by them that is noble, supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. So this is very similar to the knowledge or factor that we have just talked about. Really being interested in hearing the Dhamma, paying full attention and hearing it with eager ears. And here the Buddha says, well, if you hear this Dhamma teaching, it's not only that you are fully attentive, but you also have a positive emotional reaction. So you gain inspiration and you gain gladness, happiness inside. So there's a lot of piti sukha coming up when you hear Dhamma or even Vinaya being taught. So as I just mentioned, you wouldn't be bored, or you wouldn't be unwilling to listen to this. You'd be fully attentive, but also you'd gain a lot of joy out of this. And this again shows us that the higher paths, or the whole Buddhist path, in fact, isn't a path that is just austere and tough and hard, but it's actually a path that should bring a lot of joy, a lot of gladness, that should really have a positive emotional connection. Especially as you progress on the path, the more you become aloof from mundane and material things, the more you should gain the gladness and happiness in the mind that comes from being unburdened and being free and making progress on the Buddhist path. So that is a very, very strong sign that you are actually making progress if you can gain that inspiration in Dhamma teachings when somebody is teaching Dhamma or Vinaya. So that is the seventh knowledge that is supramundane, noble and supramundane, and not shared by ordinary people. And then the Buddha finally says, when a noble disciple is thus possessed of seven factors, they have well sought the character for realization of the fruit of stream entry. When a noble disciple is thus possessed of seven factors, they possess the fruit of stream entry. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So the Buddha first says, when a noble disciple has those seven factors, then they are prepared for realizing the fruit of stream entry. So that means they should be on the path of stream entry. And it seems like they have not yet broken through to stream entry, but they are prepared for the breakthrough. And the second sentence that the Buddha adds then is that when you have those 7 factors, you actually have the fruit of stream entry. So it seems that when you have those 7 factors, you are either just before stream entry, or you're actually making the breakthrough at that time. And of course, once you are a stream enterer, you should also have all these 7 factors as you continue on practicing. And people on the higher stages of the path should also be possessed of those 7 factors, obviously. So these are the very unique 7 factors of stream entry that we only find in this sutta and nowhere else. And I think they're very beautiful and inspirational and also very practical. And we can check ourselves with that and see where we are still lacking and which kind of things we should still develop a little bit more. And I hope you enjoyed this sutta. As I mentioned, the Buddha gave this to inspire the bhikkhus who were fighting, so that they can see that there's something higher that they should aspire to, and give them an incentive to overcome their quarrels and reestablish communal harmony. So that was one of the Buddha's efforts to try and reconcile the fighting bhikkhus and to end the schism at Kosambi. Unfortunately, as we will see next time, he was unsuccessful and they still continued quarreling. But I think thanks to those quarreling bhikkhus, we now have this really, really beautiful sutta. And so if you have any questions or comments, please remember them, either put them in the description box or ask them again next time, when hopefully we will have a live stream. And as promised, before we end for today, I will show you a few pictures of our new forest monastery that we are building at the moment, forest monastery and retreat center. And I will try to share my screen. Hopefully that'll work. And you should be able to see this now. So this is the place where I'm staying at the moment, the Miao Center for Meditation and Chan Buddhism in Berlin, Germany. So this is actually a Mahayana center. And at the moment we have 3 bhikkhunis here. Our abbess is from the Chinese Chan tradition. And then we have another bhikkhuni here from Plum Village. So Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition, and then myself. And apart from our city center, the Miao Center, we are building a new forest monastery and retreat center now, which is called Wassermond, or Water Moon in English. And this we are building in a place called Guben, which is close to the border to Poland, very close actually to the border to Poland. And the monastery is a very beautiful forest right next to a lake. And we hope that we will be able to open this new forest monastery and retreat center in 2022, hopefully in a few months. Maybe we will do, hopefully we will be able to do a soft launch or soft opening with a few people, a very small group, in 2 or 3 months. And then over time, hopefully we'll be able to have more activities there. And we will offer retreats, but also monastery stays for people who just want to come and live with the community for a while. And here we have a picture. This is our abbess, Shufu Simplicity, who has also given talks on the channel before. So if you want, you can check it out and see some of her talks. And of course, in the background, there is the main house. This house will be for the nuns. There will be 4 rooms for nuns, so 4 nuns can stay there. Then, of course, there are also other rooms, such as the office and a very big room that we are using at the moment as the meditation room. And this house has mostly been renovated already, so we hope that we will be able to move in there very soon. And these are the kutis. So the property already has 10 kutis built there, because the property used to be a holiday home for children. So these were accommodations for children before, and they're all very old and they need to be renovated, and they lack a lot of facilities. So our project for the next few years, if we can raise enough funds, is to renovate all these kutis so that the monastics and also long-term lay guests who want to come and do a retreat there will be able to stay in those kutis. And here we have a picture of the surroundings. There, as I mentioned, there is a very big lake. It's much bigger than you see on this picture. And of course, there's forest all around. And here, this is our meditation hall. This hall is inside of an old barn. So it's at the moment, it's not usable because it's not insulated. And of course, winters are really cold there. So we hope that next year, we will be able to insulate this whole building. This will be done professionally by a building company. And that when the next winter comes, we would be able to use this as our meditation hall. And this is another picture from the outside here on the right side. This is the main house for the nuns. This here is on the left side is the meditation hall that used to be a barn. And here there is, just behind the meditation hall, there is a smaller building, which are bathrooms and sanitary installations there for people who don't stay there overnight, who just come to the meditation hall. And there's another building where we don't have a picture at the moment. This is the guest house. So there is another big house that's also already renovated that will have 6 rooms for guests. And since it's almost finished, we hope that we will be able to accommodate the first people who want to do monastery stays or people who want to help out with the renovations that are still happening there and help us to build this monastery or retreat center. So that guest house is almost finished. It has 6 rooms. Rooms can also be shared. So hopefully once everything is finished and the meditation hall is finished, we'll be able to have retreats of, let's say, up to 20 or 25 people there. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that guest house, but it's almost finished. And here, this is a more recent picture. Of course, it's winter there now. So on the left side, you again see the main house. And on the right side, you see the meditation hall. And of course, this was the first snow there, so it wasn't much. But as winter progresses, there could be even more snow than this. So this is our new project, and that's where I will be going for the next few days to help with the renovations. And for that reason, we were not able to do a live stream today, and I had to give you this recording. So I hope you enjoyed this. I will leave a link in the description box to our center if you want to check it out. Otherwise, have a good day, have a good week, and I'll see you all again next time. Sorry, we will finish as usual with 3 sadhus, of course. Feel free to join in. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a good week.